This is the CUPRA Leon Hatchback and this is the CUPRA Leon Estate. And today I'm going to take a look around both of them and I'm going to be driving both of them to see how they compare. Now all that's left to do is decide which one to drive first. Ip, dip, do, out goes you. I'll take this one. The CUPRA Leon comes with a 2-litre turbocharged engine with 300 horsepower and 400 Newton meters of torque, available between 2000 and 5000 RPM. Good for 0 to 62 miles per hour in 5.7 seconds. Prices start at around £30,000, with the top spec vehicle setting you back up to £40,000. Right, so let's take a look around the CUPRA Leon. And in doing so, I'll show you exactly what the differences are between the CUPRA Leon and the Seat Leon. So if you start at the front of the car, you see immediately at the front, you see this CUPRA badge, this bronze badge, which you see on the front of many CUPRA cars. It looks pretty cool. I think it makes the car feel premium, especially on the dark paint. This particular car is asphalt blue. It's a really nice color and it really does pop in the sun. You get the front grille, which has these triangular features in it. Again, that's CUPRA's design language. Again, it makes the car look a bit aggressive. As we move towards the side of the car, these lights here have the triangular shape in them as well. Now, this is something which you find in the Seat Leon as well, but I think it's more in keeping with CUPRA's design and CUPRA's branding, especially with the triangles and their logo as well. As we come towards the side of the car, you can see the 19-inch wheels that this car sits on. Now, I'm not sure if that's going to do any good for the ride. We'll just have to see, but 19 inches, it's quite questionable. Anyway, as we are onto the side of the car, the CUPRA Leon sits lower than the Seat Leon. It sits 25mm lower at the front and 20mm lower at the back. So it does have that sort of stance. It is sort of almost aggressive, almost like Sonic the Hedgehog, ready to run really fast. That's another major difference of this car to the Leon, to the Seat Leon. And the last major difference is actually inside the car are these sport seats. So they're different. In the Seat Leon, you get standard seats. In the CUPRA Leon, you get sport seats. As we look at the rest of the vehicle then, as we move towards the back of the car, you can see again, it's in keeping with CUPRA's branding. You can see the floating light bar that you get in many Volkswagen Group vehicles. You get the CUPRA badging and you get a rear diffuser and quad exhaust. So not much different to the Seat Leon, but definitely the changes that have been made do point to the sporty appeal of this car and of this new fresh brand, which is CUPRA. Right, so inside the CUPRA Leon is pretty much the same story as the Seat Leon. Of course, I've mentioned some of the differences between this car and the Seat Leon. Those are, of course, the bronze trim on the steering wheel, around the air vents. You've also got bronze stitching on the steering wheel. You've got some bronze stitching around the rest of the car. And of course, the big difference are these sport seats, which in the Seat Leon you get standard seats. Now, the sport seats are quite comfortable actually. They hug you very well. They don't squeeze you, but they're just nice and comfortable. And they don't have adjustable headrest, but they're still a pretty great place to be. Now inside, you get plastics, you get metals, you get standard stuff that you would in a CUPRA Leon, but you also get a digital dash. You get a central infotainment system, which has those buttons to change the volume. Well, they're not buttons, but these sort of touch sensitive swipe pads to change the climate and the volume. I don't even know how to put this down now. I'm gonna do this. That's not done anything. There we go, that's gone off. And of course you have this center console which has the drive select modes. Of course in the CUPRA Born they are on this side. Now to change some of the light settings and to change some of the demist settings, they're on the right hand side next to the driver's right knee. Other than that, you get these buttons on the steering wheel, which I quite like, because on the CUPRA Born I did start to have some issues where I would accidentally touch those touch sensitive haptic feedback buttons and I'd start playing the infotainment system, but I think these buttons on the steering wheel, they're pretty good again. And aside from that, the driving position seems pretty much spot on. I can't fault the driving position. Headroom is great. Of course, this car does sit lower than the Seat Leon, and with these sport seats, you get plenty of headroom and loads of space to move about. You get cup holders, plenty of storage space. The door bins are reasonably big, but they're a bit awkward to get into. But aside from that, this car certainly does feel premium. So when driving the CUPRA Leon, it does actually feel slightly different than the Seat Leon. It feels like it's a bit more sporty and a bit more aggressive, especially with the suspension, but I think that is all down to those 19-inch wheels. You definitely feel every bump in the road, and you can also hear the road, or you can hear wind noise, and you can hear, you know, you're exposed to all these elements whilst you're driving. And of course, on top of that, you've got these sport seats as well, which obviously make you feel more. The accelerator pedal, there is a slight little hesitation in the way that it accelerates, but it's enough for you to, any sudden burst of acceleration that you want to put in, and maybe you want to overtake somebody, it can do that for you. But you notice that slight little hesitation. I'll do it again. So we'll slow a little bit down, and if I coast along and I put my foot on the accelerator now, and now it sort of sets off. It sort of spools the turbo, it sort of gets ready to go. Of course, this has the same engine as the Golf GTI, whereas the Golf GTI makes somewhere around 250, 245 brake horsepower. This car makes 296 brake horsepower, which is equivalent to 300 horsepower, which is why this car is called the CUPRA Leon 300 TSI. But of course, it has more power, and it sends that to the front wheels, just like the Golf GTI. But it gives a different driving feel than the Golf GTI, where the Golf GTI is a lot more calm and composed in the way that it goes about its driving. This car is all about being aggressive, and again, I think that's what this CUPRA brand is all about. It's this new, fun, fresh driving experience. It brings the excitement back into driving, and I think on a country road like this car is really fun. You can really, the steering is really accurate and really soft as well. It's really smooth, really light, and yeah, it just all comes together to make a really nice driving experience. The only downside being those 19-inch wheels, which make you feel every bump in the road. But of course, if you are in the market for a hot hatch, then that's something which you're probably already going to be prepared for. So yeah, I think this car really, it has all the grip that you need. It can really pin down wherever you need to, and you feel confident. It does make you feel confident. Yeah, 0 to 60 in around 5.5 seconds, 5.7 seconds. I think that is, you know, CUPRA have stated figures that are rather high, to be honest. I think it could probably do 0 to 60 in a bit less than that, but it's not, it's a lot faster than, it's about a second faster than the hybrid version that has a 1.5 litre engine. This has a 2 litre engine and it's not hybrid, but of course the hybrid car can go 30 miles without using petrol, just on electric itself. Whereas there is the estate car, which we're going to drive, which can do 0 to 60 quicker than this car. So let's go check out that car, and I'll tell you exactly how that feels to drive as well. The CUPRA Leon Estate comes with the same 2 litre turbocharged engine as the hatchback, but this time producing 310 horsepower. Torque is still the same. The notable differences include 0 to 62 miles per hour at 4.9 seconds and a 620 litre boot. Prices start at around £38,000 and extend upwards of £43,000. So this is the CUPRA Leon Estate, and I'll show you a little bit around this car. But before I do, this is a great time to like the video if you haven't already liked it, and if you enjoy this content, make sure you leave a comment if you do have any questions about the CUPRA Leon Estate or even the CUPRA Leon Hatchback. I'll try to answer your questions as best as possible. And of course, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, make sure you subscribe. Most of my viewers haven't already subscribed to my channel, and if you subscribe, it means that I can bring out great content like this. So I'll show you a little bit around the car and what makes this different to the CUPRA Leon Hatchback. Of course, this is the Estate, but it's not just that. From the front, it looks seemingly the same as the Hatchback. You get the CUPRA badge, you get that grille, you get the same lights. It looks all the same. When you come towards the side of the vehicle though, and you have a look at these, again, 19-inch alloy wheels, you can see that these wheels look slightly different to the Hatchback. Now that's not because this is the Estate and that's the Hatchback, that's because this is the VZ3 spec, so you get a few more extras like the wheels, and you get electronically adjustable seats, you get a few other extras as well. But this particular car has these better designed alloy wheels. I quite like these ones better. As we move towards the back of the car now, this is where you can see the more of the changes. You can see this elongated body style, you can see this big rear overhang. I quite like the big rear overhang. It does look pretty cool. It puts it on the same sort of spectrum as cars like the Audi RS6, which are the ultimate sporty estate cars. As we move towards the back, again, the design of the back of the car is similar to the design of the Hatchback, but of course the big difference comes in the boot of the car, because this particular car has an over 600 litre boot. In fact, that means that this car has the same amount of boot space as the Skoda Octavia VRS. It's quite cool. And of course, you also get a spare alloy wheel, or a spare wheel as well. And of course, you have this height adjustable floor, which I do not know how to operate. There we go. So again, you can have even more room in the boot. But of course, it is quite convenient to have this higher up, so then you don't get this load lip and you can easily take luggage in or out. Now, of course, for the CUPRA Leon Hatchback, the one with the hybrid engine, now because of the batteries, that does have a shallower boot. You don't get as much boot space. This car is, of course, comparable to the Formentor because they're both practical. This one's an Estate, that one's an SUV. That one is quite desirable, but this one is pretty cool too. They have the same amount of power and both have four-wheel drive. So in the end, it is probably down to your preference. But let's go drive this car and see exactly how it is to drive. So inside the CUPRA Leon Estate. Now there are a few subtle differences. Like the Formentor, this car has the engine start button on the steering wheel, whereas the CUPRA Leon Hatchback had it in the center console. So of course this car is more comparable to the CUPRA Formentor. But of course, if you're in the market for a Leon, you've got a choice between a hybrid, a hatchback, or an estate car. Now, this estate car is one that I'm actually really excited to drive. Probably even more excited to drive than the hatchback. Now, that's a bit weird for me because I prefer sporty saloons and sporty hatchback cars over the sporty estate cars. I'm not really a huge fan of estate cars, but this car does seem to excite me. And the reason why is because it has 310 horsepower, and that's comparable to the Golf R Estate, which only has 6 more horsepower than this car. And of course, this car has 10 more horsepower than the hatchback. So it's up on power. It's also up on weight as well. It weighs 160 kgs more than the hatchback, but it definitely feels like it has more grunt. It can get up and go quicker than the hatchback. Now the reason why that is because this car actually is quicker. It comes with 4-wheel drive, and so the 0 to 60 time is less than 5 seconds. So this is the fastest accelerating CUPRA Leon that you can get, and that's thanks to the 4-wheel drive. But aside from that, it feels more comfortable as well. The way that the dynamics of the driving, they change it doesn't feel like, because the hatchback is on those 19-inch alloy wheels, even though this is as well, it just feels like it's set up differently. The suspension is softer, the bumps on the road are more forgivable, and of course on top of that there are so many more benefits to this car than the hatchback, because you get the practicality of all that boot space. I personally think it's a no-brainer. This four-wheel drive car seems like the obvious choice. Again, there is that hesitation when it accelerates, but it doesn't take long to accelerate. Before you know it, you're already up to speed. I certainly do think that if you are in the market for a sporty estate car, you'd really need to consider the CUPRA Leon Estate. The Leon is a familiar face dressed up in racing attire. The hatchback offers a great stylish alternative to the Golf GTI, but the Estate is the standout vehicle.